Thank you so much for reaching out to Wildwood Education. I am so excited to welcome you and to tell you a little bit more about the programs we have to offer. So, the first thing I would like to explain is that when many people call for tutoring, they are looking for a particular subject area and they don't even really know that there might be something even better for their student. So, for instance, I get a lot of calls where a parent is saying, I have a child who's struggling with math, who's struggling with physics, who's struggling with reading, and I need someone to help. And over the years, we've helped so many students in that way, matching students up with one-on-one tutors and teachers who have helped in unbelievable ways. In the more recent years, I've learned that there are many students who actually would benefit from something a little different. And that is because so many times that a student is struggling, it isn't because they are struggling with the content area. It's not that they have trouble with Algebra 2. It's that there's something deeper about their ability to learn that is getting in the way of them accessing that content. So, mainly in my work with my own child when he was coming into high school, and I noticed that he didn't have a lot of the foundational skills needed to succeed in school, not just in one class, but in a lot of classes. Of course, this was coming out of the pandemic, but there were gaps in terms of knowing how to study, how to stay organized, how to approach a task when it got really hard. And what I learned is that I didn't have the energy or the time to be able to sit down, even though I was a teacher, full-time teacher at the time, I didn't have the ability to sit down and teach him all that content. So we worked on how to do it. How can I help him be more independent in his learning? And what I learned is that that was the magic because instead of me showing him how to do it, I showed him how to figure out how to do it. And so we found all sorts of tools, many of them free, that would help him do that. Since then, we've developed an incredible program, which we have called the Roots program. And in this program, we help students not so much teach them content that they don't understand, but teach them why they are struggling to understand it and how they can empower themselves to be able to figure that out. So I'll give you an example. A student comes in and they have a math worksheet and they think they need a math tutor. And we have math tutors. So if you need a content specific tutor, we can get that for you. And that tutor is in what's called our bridge program. I'm going to show you something on the website right now that will explain. So if you scroll down here to how we help learners grow, you see our bridge program. And this is for academic obstacles. Sometimes we need to leap over those obstacles. And often students do need that one-to-one content tutoring, and we can provide that. We're so happy to provide that. We have wonderful tutors who can do physics and chemistry and math and all those wonderful things. You can click on our website through here and find more information about the bridge program. But the program that's really our signature program and what sets us apart from everybody else is this Roots program. And here we get underneath school. So if you imagine school is the trunk of the tree, the Roots program is just that. It's the roots. It's underneath the tree. And here we're doing those things that when I was a classroom teacher, I felt I didn't have time to do. Things like help study for a test, memorize things, stay organized, manage time, set goals, build confidence and joy and curiosity. And if we can do that underneath all of the classes, then they all lift up together. So in this example of the math worksheet that comes in, what we would say to students in a bridge session with a math tutor is we would explain how to do it, right? We have a math tutor who can do that. But in the Roots program, we would say to the student, what do you have available to you that could help you with this worksheet? And we might start, for instance, with notes from school. So the student might have to dig through their bag. And in doing so, we might realize that the student actually doesn't have the notes from school. If that's the case, then we need to figure out why they don't have the notes from school. And that's where we get to the real fundamental issues of learning. Do they not have the notes because they're distracted during school and they weren't able to collect them? Or maybe they don't have the notes because they lost them, because they're just kind of unorganized. Or maybe you learned that, in fact, there are no notes because a lot of our schools are struggling to find teachers to teach the material. And that's not our students' fault. So let's assume in the best case scenario that the student comes in and has notes. We'll then take it, and instead of explaining to the student, well, this is how you do it, in a root session, we would say to them, well, now what? Let's find a problem in the notes that is similar to the problem you're trying to do for homework. And let's unpack that example and see if we can apply it. And those lessons I have found, while not for everybody, because they're really fostering independence, those lessons are the most important lessons in learning how to learn. They're the ones that can make it so that you actually don't need a tutor. And the irony of our whole business is that we want students to not need us anymore. I'm not worried about that on a business level. There'll be plenty of other stuff to work on. But we want our students to be able to be independent and to go out into the world and conquer learning on their own because they know how to do it. So let me just show you an example of what a roots session would look like. I'm going to show you our website that includes some of the Roots program materials. And if you click through here, I'm sure it will change by the time this video reaches more people. But what we do in Roots is we really focus on the learning at that higher level. So I'll show you some examples if I can just figure out how to open this document here. Let's try here. This is one of our first Roots lessons where we explain that, right? The image to the right is holding the tree up in that staked form. And tutoring is often like that stake, right? That's our bridge tutoring, really, and that's fine. We are happy to do that. But in the Roots program, we're going to, rather than teach you it, we're going to figure out why you missed it. Right? Rather than students sitting around waiting for teachers to explain something to them, which can often happen if they go to extra help, right? We're going to say, well, what resources can you look for that will help you? It's really hard for our students right now to have the confidence to do this, despite that there are countless resources out there. And that's really because there are countless resources out there. And so we don't throw resources at kids and say, look that up on YouTube or use this AI tool. Instead, we teach them how to do that. I'll produce many more videos, I think, in the future about using AI for learning because it is going to be the future of so many industries, including education. And we must embrace it rather than shun it because it has incredible capabilities. Like any tool, though, AI can do incredible things, and also it can cause real damage. And the magic in figuring out that divide is understanding how to use it. And that is where we would like to help students with all sorts of learning tools, how to use AI, how to use YouTube even, how to even still use Google. And a lot of our students don't know how to do that. So in the Roots program, that is what we're getting at, is that real foundation of how to learn. In a Roots session, you'll come in and we will begin by doing a mini lesson. So we will, they'll each come in for one worksheet, and I'm actually going to show you exactly what it would look like if you were to come in and do a Roots lesson with us. When you come into the Learning Center, you'll come right over to the bins that check you in and check you out. So here's our check-in bin, and our students will come and they will take their binder that will have their name on it, and they will take what we call a Wildewood Roots lesson green sheet. So our green sheet. This is a sheet that every student fills out at the beginning of every session, and they tell us with this top signal if they're good to go, they check the green. If they may need some support, then they check the yellow, and if they need support now, then they're going to check the red. And that tells us where our students need us first and foremost. At the beginning of every session, students also take our Roots lesson sheet of the week. This is one example. We do a mini Pomodoro technique lesson in our second week, and we teach students the importance of timing their work in a mini Pomodoro, which is really just a way to break up work into smaller chunks. We do 8-minute work sessions with a 2-minute break for our students in the beginning of the year, and we try to build that up to a real Pomodoro where you're working for 25 minutes straight before taking a break. So that's just one example of a roots lesson. So we would gather around the table together and talk for about 5 or 10 minutes on this mini lesson.
While students are doing the roots lesson, usually with one of our Learning Center directors, we have another tutor that will be gathering up the green sheets and seeing what kind of support students are going to need in the session. At that point, students will break up into different places around the Learning Center and they'll start their work. We will prioritize students based on what they wrote down on their green sheet.
Our learning centers have all different sorts of areas to learn, and some students like to hide in these beautiful little nooks by the lake. Others come to our map room, and some go into our room here where we typically do math and science, and they begin to work there. Of course, we have our main learning room where a lot of our students will stay for their whole roots lesson.
For the rest of the roots session, our students will do work blocks. They might do that mini Pomodoro where they're working for 8 minutes and then checking in for 2, and they're getting their work done. They have outlined on their green sheet exactly what they're going to do so that we can follow along.
One of the most important parts of the green sheet is that we ask our students to establish their main learning goals with a focus on what they're actually learning. And what we find is that a lot of students might just write down, I will complete my math homework, but there's no understanding of what that math homework is really going to accomplish. So we have our students write down, they're going to complete their math homework in order to learn about factoring polynomials. And even this one small act really changes the session for students.
During our roots lessons, we also have a math teacher on hand. We call this teacher our Roots Repair math teacher. We also have a Roots Repair reading teacher, a specialist in teaching kids how to read, how to become better at comprehending. And we don't have that person here every day, but as necessary, we absolutely have that available to us. At the end of every session, we ask students to come back to the signal, and we ask them to check the green if they're good to go, the yellow if they didn't get to finish everything, but they know they can, and the red if they still need support. Students then place their binders back into the bin and check out with the Learning Center director or another tutor that is there that day. Every week, we will take pictures of the different sheets that are in your student's roots binder, and we will email those to you so that you know what is going on. If anything's urgent, we'll obviously be in touch before that, but that is how the Roots program works. We hope that you join us or consider asking some more questions. One more point before I go. Parents always ask me, what if I don't know which program is best? I see my students struggling in one particular area, but also they could really use all of this roots support. My advice would be to just come by, come see it, meet us, get the vibe of the learning space. And if you like it, enroll in Roots. It's an unlimited amount of classes that you can come to in the month. It's like a gym membership. So you pay monthly and you come when you can. We're open between 4 and 7, often later, sometimes on the weekends if you arrange with us ahead of time. We will get the work done. Then, if your student needs extra support, maybe they're struggling in chemistry or physics, then we will first of all, hopefully help them understand different tools they could use by being in the Roots program. But if there's more help needed, then we will layer that with specific content level tutors from the Bridge program. We'll do that like we're a primary care physician and we have our specialists that we can refer out to as needed. And that may only be a few times for a particular lesson or a particular unit. It might be that you kind of switch over and you realize that actually I don't need this root stuff, but I really just need Bridge. I really need help with one particular content area. It's very easy to switch between. Our content level tutors, our Bridge tutors are here in the same space. So we can easily have people meet, and often, even in a roots lesson, I did this yesterday, had a student with a physics question that I really wanted to be sure we were doing right. And so we just popped over to a physics tutor who was next door with a high school student, and we asked that question. So it's a really great learning community of just some of the best educators I have ever met. and we really hope that you want to be a part of it. If you do, please reach out, come by and meet us. We can't wait to see you. We can't wait to grow with you. And we are very blessed to have this opportunity to tell you more about the exciting things we are doing at Wildewood.